Beloved brothers, youngsters, family, and friends, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon each and every one of you. What's going on, people? What's good? You tell me. It is Monday, the 18th of April. We're here on a bank holiday, Easter break, the 17th of Ramadan or the 16th of Ramadan when you started, and we are almost there. We are halfway through this blessed, glorious month. I hope you've had a perfect opportunity to reflect, re-energize and revitalize your soul, your mind and your body. And inshallah, we still have 2 weeks left of this month to continue that good work. So don't fret if you've not had a chance to do it. The best days are still to come. Wow, I tell you what, folks, I have needed this 4-day break. I feel recharged, I feel refreshed, and I am ready to go for the rest of the week. And you know what the bonus is? It's only going to be a 4-day week this week, so that is good. And we are here, Ramadan Radio 87.7 FM on the Drivetime show. And joining me today in the hot seat, oh, what can I say, people? We've got a legend in the making, and I'm telling you now, right? This man is a coach, he's a mentor, he's a presenter, a master of ceremony, a public speaker, he's a youth activist, he's a community advocate, he's a project manager, and he's a musician. Honestly, all those talents, it's like unfair for one guy to have all that talent. But listen, it is a pleasure, a delight, an honor, and a privilege to be able to welcome into the Ramadan FM studios, brother Tahir Hajat. Assalamu alaikum, bro.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brother Irfhan, thank you so much for that intro. I think like you need to come with me and be my hype man. I need a hype man, and that was a great introduction. From what I can derive from it is a jack of all trades, master of none is how you're making it out.
Listen, I'd be your hype man, no problem. But seriously, folks, listen, thank you so much for coming. And Jazakumullah, I know your schedule is absolutely crazy right now, so I really appreciate you donating your time, especially during the holidays when people are with families and stuff. But really excited to have you in, and I'm really curious, and I want to share with our listeners a lot about what you're doing. So there's a few areas which I'd like to touch on. There's basketball and the coaching element. There's the stuff you're doing currently with the Mighty Creatives, and of course your emerging prominence as a sports announcer, master of ceremony. So let's take it way back right to the beginning and talk about your first love of basketball.
Sure. Yeah. Well, to start, I guess it's quite simple. First and foremost, I have to make it really clear I'm Leicester born and bred, and I wear my
representing, yeah,
on my sleeve. And you know, if you cut me, I'll bleed blue. As far as I'm concerned, not cold-blooded, just for the fact of I love Leicester. But you know, basketball was a great starting point for me as a young person. It led to so many opportunities, which I'm sure what we're talking about. And I started playing when I was 7 years old at a local community session after school, a place called Southfields Drive, which unfortunately has now been converted to a gym after it went downhill, as a lot of youth centres have done over the years. And from there, you know, I've had so many blessings as a result of being involved in the sport. And, you know, it's aided me in so many different ways, and it kind of gave me the opportunity to do so many different things.
So what was it about basketball in comparison? Because, you know, a lot of brothers like ourselves, you know, start off playing young. It's either football or cricket or something like that. But basketball seemed to have a certain appeal to you.
Without a doubt. In fact, you know, big shout out Nirvana Football Club. I was playing there for a little bit. My dad took me to a couple of games. I must have played a couple of games, and then one time we just turned up. We thought it was at home at Spinney Hill, but it wasn't. It was away. And then after that, I just kind of lost the appetite. There wasn't, you know, an opportunity for me to continue to play. I just didn't feel like there was. And then I went to secondary school at Lancaster Boys, you know, well-renowned school in this city. And, you know, from there, the opportunity to play competitively really sparked the interest overall, you know. And I didn't really know anything about basketball culture or the style or what's, you know, on TV, the NBA or anything like that. I turned up to my first training session in a pair of running trainers and some tracksuit bottoms. And, you know, the coach was like, you know, actually, you know, you might want to wear a basketball jersey or some shorts and some basketball trainers. Look after your ankles. You know, I used to wear glasses, so I was a little chubby kid with glasses running up and down the court, just trying my best, you know. But, you know, as I started to learn more about the culture and meet new people through the sport and learn the very important skill sets it teaches you, discipline being one of those, you know, I just fell head over heels in love with the game. You know, we were really good team at Lancaster Boys. We won year after year, competing against Rushy Mead. Of all schools, Rushy Mead had an incredible history for basketball as well, and we were always rivals. I think we won 3 out of 5 of the league titles. You know, we played the national competitions, got to quarterfinals, and over that time at Lancaster Boys started playing for Leicester as well.
Yeah.
It was just an incredible experience to be involved in all of that.
Wow. So, like many other, you know, sort of guys in our position, was it difficult trying to find the time to commit to extracurricular activities, obviously with having to go to madrasa and all those sorts of things? What were the challenges that you faced? And I suppose where did the encouragement come from?
100%. It was very difficult. I guess the saving grace was initially for me, it was an after school club. So, you know, my madrasa, I went Kazina Al Ilm, shout out Crown Hills Mosque for all of those who attended over the years. You know, it wasn't immediately after school, so I could at least be there till at least 5 o'clock, and I was a short distance walk from home, so that was all good as long as I was in time to have a little snack and get in the car and have all my books ready to go to the mosque. You know, my parents were really supportive of me, myself and my sister doing all kinds of extracurricular activity. I also played rugby at Lancaster for 3 years, and we had an incredible rugby team there as well. And but parents, you know, supporting me and my interest was really key, and that became much more instrumental when I started playing and representing Leicester at a junior level. You know, training sessions are on a certain amount of evenings throughout the week, and maybe I couldn't go to all of the training sessions, but at least once a week, you know, they would make a case for me to be able to go and attend a training session so I could, you know, develop and really enjoy my sport and then compete on the weekends to the best of my ability where possible. And yeah, it was my parents' support that enabled me to do that. And of course, the leniency of the madrasa. You know, some madrasas maybe aren't so lenient, but Maulana Ibrahim Mogra, you know, I can't speak highly enough of that man, and I'm sure many people listening in would say the same. But, you know, he understood it from my parents' point of view, and was made it very clear that there's a balance of making sure that you have a commitment to your faith, commitment to your religion, commitment to school, to your family, and yeah, if you have a commitment to your sport as well. But managing that balance is incredibly important. And yeah, he allowed us and enabled us to do that as well.
That's really important, because I think sometimes, you know, if a talent is recognized, it needs to be nurtured, and then to allow that talent to grow and flourish, you need to have, I suppose, a dialogue between the parents and the organization in order to achieve that balance, like you said. But as a part of a successful team growing up, and you know, being a member of those team sports, what did you learn and gain from that you've now sort of brought into your adult life?
I think the biggest thing for me is teamwork. And when I say teamwork, I'd like to think of it in the larger context of community. The amount of different communities that I was able to engage with as a result of being in the sport of basketball, which is, you know, next to football, one of the most diverse sports in this country, without a doubt. You know, I learned so much. I learned so much about different people and different cultures.
Give us some examples, Tahir.
Yeah, sure. You know, there was a lot of members from African Caribbean community. There was a lot of members from the British white community. There was a lot of Asians there, but not just Muslim Asians. There was, in fact, Muslim Asians were a big minority, but Hindu and Sikh communities. And learning, actually, you know, when you have those long car journeys up and down the country, you know, and going to away games, about, you know, what do you believe in and what do you celebrate and when do you celebrate that? Why do you celebrate that? And oh, you're fasting this time of year. How are you playing basketball and fasting at the same time? You know, all of these kind of different conversations we were able to have on a respectful level because we purely appreciated each other's, you know, craft for our sport. It brought us all onto the same level, so we were able to have open conversations about that. And, you know, it wasn't a situation where you'd have to disagree. It was just like an interest of, oh, that's how you do things. All right, I respect that. You respect what I do, and it was a really good opportunity to learn about that. I was able to then bridge those experiences into, building a career, or even when I was at school, etc. And even when I'm moving within my own community, if I ever came across some negative views, etc., I was able to, break down those barriers and be like, no, that's not true. That's a false.
I think that really annoys me sometimes.
Comment, etc. Yeah,
members of our community, they're sort of, everyone's like got a comment or an armchair critic, but a lot of that is based on absolute inexperience within that environment or within that setting, or not knowing anything. And it's just a very casual throwaway remark, but which can be quite damaging.
Without a doubt. And, I've had my fair share of abuse, should we say racial abuse, over the years in various settings. But, how you deal with that, and when you understand it comes from a place of ignorance, it makes it so much easier to deal with overall and rise above it. Yeah.
So, I mean, you talked about sport being this uniting force, this cohesive force. And, you seem to have obviously learned so much about the value of that and the benefit of that. And I'm guessing you brought that into your coaching career. So, the basketball went well. Unfortunately, you suffered an injury, which sort of, I suppose, maybe...
those who can't do teach. Sometimes they say,
And those who can't teach come on Ramadan radio. But no, I mean, let's move on to like sort of the work you've done with the riders and the coaching, because I just want to say, like, Leicester, mashallah, in the past decade, we've become like the sporting capital of the country, because we've seen what the Foxes have done. It seems like the Leicester Tigers are coming back on top. We've seen Mark Selby win the Snooker World Championships on multiple occasions. Cricket, okay, maybe not so much. But the Leicester Riders have just won their 5th British Basketball League title out of the last 6 years. Yeah. And you have been a instrumental part in laying the foundations, which has now allowed the team to reap these rewards.
Yeah, I guess, we start back to the coaching element. I actually started coaching at year 11. I coached the year 7 team. And I just kind of copied what the coaches used to teach me, and really it didn't come from a place of knowledge. It came from a place of repeating what was good practice, I believe. And then as you develop through a coaching journey, you start to understand the principles that underlie that good practice. And so I started coaching then, and actually when I went to college, I started coaching with the Leicester Warriors Basketball Club at half-term camps. A well-known community figure, Carl Brown, who many of us young people will know from many sporting exploits throughout the city, and also worked with Dave Harris, who's also a big basketball legend and a community legend, the Leicester Dynamite Basketball Club. They were the first to offer me opportunities for school club camps, etc. And it was multi-sports, so I was getting involved in different sports. But realizing that my passion actually was basketball. And then I started to take it a little bit more seriously. When I got to university, I actually coached the university women's team for 2 years, as well as playing at the same time, which was an interesting dynamic to be involved with, and working to empower young women through sport. And they really enjoyed that. They did really well with the 2 years with me. And then when I came back to Leicester, university, I really, didn't do as well as I could have done. We all make misjudgments in life, should we say. But coming out of that experience, I was stacking shelves at M&S when I came back to Leicester.
Snap, I used to work at M&S.
Yeah, the early morning truck, the cold food truck came in the morning.
Those days with the gloves and the jacket.
Yes, that's it. And then, there are other supermarkets available. But then, I got a phone call from a lady called Liz Jennings, who no longer works at the Riders, but has been involved in basketball for many years, and said, do you want to become involved? I mean, the money's not as good as stacking shelves at M&S, but it's your sport, it's your passion. And I took that leap, and I delved into the sport of basketball, and I was, completely committed to the sport, and more importantly, developing the sport in my local community of Leicester, which was absolutely massive to me, and it was so close to my heart.
Just on that, why is it so important to you? What is it about that really sort of gets you up in the morning?
I just think you mean the Leicester thing or the basketball thing or the coaching thing?
Both.
I guess Leicester first and foremost. I've just always had an affinity with my local community and my local people, and want to represent. When I was younger, this is Ramadan radio, but it wasn't recommended to be doing that. I was in a little grime crew. We did a little bit of emceeing, etc.
Spitting bars.
Well, it was almost a gang type culture. So you learn the kind of love for something that's close to your community quite strongly. And I actually needed to translate that love into a more mature kind of love for my community, which I was able to then do. And it's just the people, it's the diversity, it's the food, it's the, you know, the football, the basketball, it's all of it. Leicester, I just honestly...
Hashtag love Leicester.
Hashtag love Leicester. And then, you know, being able to then support young people in the community using the sport that I love and teaching the skill sets I learnt with the sport that I love, and trying to enrich other young people's lives just how I was enriched, or I was given the opportunity to do so. That was just... at that point in my life was second to none. Like that was the most important thing. And my parents will tell you I was out of the door, you know, early morning coaching sessions at Charnwood College in Loughborough, and then they won't see me because 9 o'clock at night I'm finishing a knife crime session in Beaumont Leys. So, you know, I'm out throughout the day putting in all the work, you know, the unseen hours, you know, hours outside of your pay that you just don't speak about because you just want to get it done. And you know, it's a minority sport. There's things that need to be done to get the job done. And as you said, you know, build upon what was the work that was already being laid there for the community program, and eventually starting the Leicester Riders Junior National Basketball League Academy, which had 2 teams, starting actually with one of my old coaches who used to coach me, a lady called Mandy Payne, and we then grew that program with the help of so many, you know, wonderful coaches and people. From 2 teams of 20 odd kids to now, you know, they've got like 13 teams, 160 kids, you know, and a very diverse community of young people now playing out of a purpose-built sports facility, the Morningside Arena, Leicester as well. So I guess like through the passion, you could tell why I was involved in basketball and coaching specifically. Okay,
you're listening to Ramadan Radio 87.7 FM, and I am in conversation with Tahir Hajat, basketball enthusiast, coach, project manager, and MC and sports announcer. If you've got a question for our guest today, drop us a text on 077 488 55055. I'd especially like to hear from our youngsters who are in sports, who are in coaching, or thinking about moving into doing some sort of youth work or working with the community, as Tahir has so eloquently talked about. Then get in touch. It's a real pleasure to have you on the program today, Tahir. So Jazakallah once again for coming in. So we've talked about the coaching, talked about the basketball. Let's talk about your work with the youth and trying to encourage and foster the creativity that lies within each and every one of us through the Mighty Creatives. What is the Mighty Creatives all about?
Oh, sure. I think I'll start by saying the Mighty Creatives are a creative, cultural and arts organisation that help to support young people across the Midlands area. I will say that when working with young people, once again, it's basketball that bridged that for me. I actually started doing some community project management for the Riders. I worked with young offenders, high-risk young offenders committing serious crimes.
What was that like working with, that must be quite intimidating.
Yeah, it is, but also we did a residential, which I don't know is very stupid or not, but we did a week-long residential, and out of the 5 residentials, only 1 had to finish slightly earlier. But all out, you know, we had a 70% success rate of reducing the rate of reoffending. Actually, my auntie
70%.
70%.
Wow.
And it's actually using the power of sport. So we'd provide a mentorship program for 8 weeks in the build up to the residential. And when they were there, it was based in Loughborough at the Fieldhouse boarding, it's the old boarding house for Charnwood College where the Riders Academy players now stay. But we'd stay there over the summer. We would fill the time with heading over to Loughborough University, taking part in beach volleyball, football, cricket, all the sports, basketball, etc. included. We'd then mix in some intervention type work with knife crime, drug abuse. We'll be talking about child sexual exploitation, some really heavy hitting subjects. We'd also get the police to come in and deliver a session to, you know, young offenders who actually had a really negative outlook on the police, and we're able to try and break down some of those barriers and allow them to talk to each other and give them the opportunity to share why certain situations happen the way they do. And then we mixed in creative activities such as graffiti art, steel drums, and so many other different bits and bobs. But, you know, as I said, it was a real success, as with most things, funding related. So unfortunately the funding ran out, but you know, that gave me a passion really for working with young people that really come from disadvantaged backgrounds. fast forward from those experiences, I also did a work with building a stronger Britain together, working, it's not so much like the prevent program, it's more a preventative element of that, talking about hate crime, talking about racism, etc. I went to a bunch of different schools, went to Crown Hills, Rushmead, Orchard Mead Academy, Tudor Grange, Samworth Academy over in Ayers Monsell. We spoke about current news affairs, spoke about, as I said, hate crime, racial abuse, etc., and help break down the views to young people and give them a platform to share their thoughts. And then once again, those experiences helped me to get involved with the Mighty Creatives in a role which is slightly different. It's around employment with the Kickstart scheme, which has now come to a close, and supporting young people into getting into Kickstart roles with their local employers, etc., giving them a helping hand after the result of the pandemic. But now that contract's changed, and I'm a Mighty Employer producer. I'm working with looked after children and their employability prospects as well. So yeah, that's how that all came to be. And the Mighty Creatives really is a kind of the next step in developing that element of my career.
And what would you say are the biggest challenges facing these looked after children right now?
There's a list, there's a list. Where do you start? And when I say looked after children, it's not just children from our local community. These are a lot of children that may have migrated to this country as refugees. A lot of Afghanistani children, Iraqi children, all of these young people that have lost their families, etc., on that process, and now have ended up in care. I'm still exploring that area, and I'm no expert in the area at this moment in time. I'm learning a lot as this new contract moves on. But employment prospects for them is a big thing, and for them to, fight out of a disadvantaged position, they're going to need employability skill set to help provide them and then potentially their own families with all the best prospects for success. So yeah, that's as much I can say about it for looked after children at this moment in time, really.
Wow. I mean, it sounds like such rewarding, fulfilling work. And I suppose you have to have a certain mindset, a certain, approach to it, because not everyone can do that sort of thing. You need an incredible amount of patience, the willingness to persevere and make sure that whoever you're working with gets to where they need to be before they progress through. I don't want to say the system, but you know what I mean.
It is the system, without a doubt. And once again, these are life experiences working with young people from as young as 17, 18, working on those half-term camps and learning about young people's different situations, and just being young enough to feel like, wow, that could have been, one of my friends, or could have been one of a family member, it could have been something close to you. And you've got to have that understanding. And without sport, I wouldn't have had the understanding or met people who'd come from those situations and been able to hear their stories, learn from their stories, and be able to reflect on it and share good practice with other young people who are going through those situations as well. I studied youth court and justice at university. Although I said I didn't do a great job there, I learned an incredible amount about it. And been able to use the knowledge that I've learned there also to be able to support these young people. And they need, not just people who are sitting behind a desk being able to fight policies and laws and legislation, etc. They need people who are going to be able to hold their hand through the process, show them some compassion, be an open ear, and have really good listening skills, but also for them to be angry at, because they've got a lot of anger and discontent that they need to share.
They need an outlet, don't they?
Yeah, and it can be really misconstrued for fighting against something that they're being forced to do, etc. It's not that. They need someone that they can trust in to share these views with. Everyone who's got kids will know that their kids are going to kick off from now again, whether it's about a Kinder Egg or whether it's about whatever it is that they're upset about. That same discontent, where do those young people show that to? Except they don't have discontent over a Kinder Egg. They've got something serious that they need to share their thoughts and views about.
So I suppose, if you don't give them that outlet or that opportunity to rant or vent or whatever, just to have somebody listen to them, which is the most important thing. The ability to listen is really key. That saves them, or, that could prevent them from going into, very dark avenues.
Of course. And also then providing, once again, going back to extracurricular activity, providing them with a positive outlet, a work-life activity balance is really, really important. I studied a thing called multisystemic therapy, which is focused about, going into vulnerable young people's or vulnerable families' lives and giving them a structure. Breakfast is at this time, lunch is at this time, dinner's at this time you're going to read books, at this time you're going to go to the football club, this time you're going to go madrasa, etc. Providing, a well-structured routine. Not everything goes to plan, and that's not a problem with that, but it's important to have a plan in place so that there's guidance for you, so you know what's happening one week or one day to the next. And for a lot of those young people, they don't know what tomorrow brings. They don't really know what's going to happen in a year's time or a month's time, etc. So really important for them to have something to look forward to and provide them with opportunities to succeed and learn.
And for you, what has been for you personally, what has been the most rewarding element, or what has brought you the most satisfaction, where you've seen someone who, 6, 9, 12 months ago was in a different place to where they are now?
I'm very fortunate to have come across many positive stories. I've come across many negative stories as well. It's important to highlight that. But there's numerous young people out there. I think knife crime is a big thing at this moment in time, and
Really?
There's a couple of young people that I've worked with that they potentially have been in a situation where that they've been involved in that situation, and then their life is potentially at risk, and they've turned the corner off the back of that. And it's just when you see a young person succeed after sharing some thoughts and showing them some love and attention, really, that's the best feeling. It makes you feel warm and fuzzy inside,
Absolutely. And I mean, knife crime seems to be getting worse and worse as the months go on.
Sure.
And we're hearing, I think there was 6 stabbings in London at the weekend.
Yeah.
In a certain area or part of London. And it just goes to show that there seems to be, this mentality. Well,
it's a safety mechanism for young people. They don't feel like other young people are carrying knives now, so they need to carry one, which is not the case. A lot of young people don't carry knives, and a lot of young people are, very well,
there seems to be a lot of bravado and image attached to this.
Yeah, of course, there is a lot of ego. Is the word to use, I guess, but. At the same time, it comes with maturity. You learn that, ego isn't everything and status isn't everything, and we all bleed the same. And at the end of the day, it's not going to be worth it. It unfortunately takes an experience close to someone, or for something to happen to someone, for them to realize that sometimes. But once again, if there's more for young people to do in their local community, then they stay away from these situations. Yeah. And there ain't no youth club, no football club, no basketball club, no safe space that's letting any young person in with a knife. So those are all safe spaces for young people to be getting engaged with.
What do you think our community, the South Asian community, can do, or does it need to be doing more in terms of giving young people more of an opportunity to engage in safe spaces?
Well, I just think, firstly, parents need to be supportive in allowing young people to follow their interests, respectfully follow their interests in the right way, by encouraging them and taking them and supporting them to go to their local club or hobby group, etc. That's a really, really big thing, because if parents put a barrier in front of that, what else are they going to do with their free time?
Sure.
Where are they gonna go? I think also, not be so scared of when young people are a relevant age to share stories and have conversations. I know, and my dad will be listening to this. There'll be times where
Shout
he probably
out Mr.
would.
Hajat.
Yeah, Mr. Hajat. He actually shared a really important story with me that completely took me away from knife crime. Because when he was younger and he was walking through Highfields, someone stabbed him for his leather jacket. Right, when he was younger, he turned that around by becoming an advocate for antisocial behaviour, writing legislation, working with the government. Now has an OBE after being a community and antisocial behaviour leader in Birmingham, and now working, for the council to help support people throughout those different communities. For me, just proved that you don't need that situation. How he reacted to the situation was more important. He didn't then pick up another knife and go and stab somebody else. He to put his mind
the need for revenge,
right? But also, there's some conversations that my dad probably didn't have with me, about more complex issues that I wish he would have probably spoken to me about and I probably had to learn it in other ways or other mediums. But, you know, as parents, shouldn't be afraid to have conversations at the relevant age, at the relevant time with young people to let them know that these things out there exist and what's the right way to deal with them. Otherwise, they're going to go and try and find out about it in their own way. And sometimes, unfortunately, that doesn't work out.
Okay, so we've got a text come in here, Tahir. Assalamu alaikum, inspiring program. See, you're inspiring the listeners, mashallah. Do you have contact details for people to get in touch?
Yeah, for sure. You know, you can get at me on social media at Tahir Hajat, TAHIRHAJAT. Just feel free to drop me a message on all social media platforms or bookings at tahirhajat.com. If you wish to talk about anything, anything at all, you know, I'm happy to support where possible.
Fantastic. Right, we got about 15 minutes left of the program, and let's move on. Mashallah, it's been...
I can talk. You know what we did say at the beginning? It's like, oh man, you know, sometimes it's hard to fill that time. I said, Irfhan, you ain't got no problem about it.
No. This is great. I mean, before we move on to what you're doing right now, a little bird told me about your days in the steel band. Just quickly talk us about that.
You know, maybe, you know, look, music isn't particularly reflected upon well in our community, right? But, you know, one thing that's always rang true with me is that drums were played when the Prophet went into Medina, right? And for me, that gave me enough reason, for some reason, to be involved in steel pan. But also my parents, you know, let me get involved in that. And once again, it's just another opportunity to learn more about another element of our community. More importantly, the African Caribbean community. I learned so much about the community, its food, its people, etc. But also being a band is this completely different thing. It's teamwork, you know, the ability to have confidence to perform, etc., which, you know, really helped lead me on to my current career at this moment in time.
Okay, so thank you again for sharing that with us. So we're going to move on to the stuff that you're doing right now, Tahir. And some of our listeners may have seen you on Sky Sports, amongst other platforms, becoming quite an accomplished sports announcer and presenter. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, an accident. That's how I can describe it. A complete accident. You know?
You're far too modest.
Nah, I'll be honest with you. You know, once again, basketball coaching kind of led the way. You know, the Riders knew I could talk a lot, and they gave me opportunity to hold a microphone at a Leicester Riders game. And British basketball is the only sport in the world and the only place in the world where the commentator in the arena commentates to the fans over the game. So they allowed me to do that, and for a couple of years it was really fun, really enjoyable. You know, I was doing it completely voluntary. You know, I won't go into too much detail, but I used to drive the van to the arena with the floor for the court at Loughborough University, roll the floor out, tape it all down, put the merchandise store out, put the stands out, then commentate the game, which was obviously the most fun part, then roll the floor back up, pack it all away, pack it back in the van, take it back to the shop and put that all away as well. But, you know, after a couple of years, I actually was gifted an opportunity with the British Basketball League to host at the NIA, a Women's British Basketball League Cup competition, which I really thoroughly enjoyed. It was crazy. You know, it's a 10,000 seat arena, and that was very
How do you feel when you see like that many people in the audience?
You know what? Once again, coaching. I keep saying it too many times, but you know, when you're coaching, your job is to provide your participants with information in the most excitable, fun, and simplest form possible. And for me, I saw the crowd as participants. I needed to educate the crowd. I need to inform the crowd and make sure that they had a damn good time.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's what my kind of aura was. And because I love basketball, it was really easy to do it. And from there, you know, I had the opportunity to host men's competitions at the O2 Arena. I've had the opportunity, you know, over 15,000 people in that arena, being able to share that love for basketball and commentate and host once again. And from there, I got a phone call from the British Basketball League events manager, a lady by the name of Claire Hatch. By the way, can you notice how women have pretty much given me all of these opportunities?
They've opened the doors for you.
Me,
yes,
right. Heaven is underneath your mother's foot. Never forget that. And
absolutely.
And yeah, so she called me and said, "Look, Matchroom Multisport are looking
big dog Barry Hearn himself." Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, he's almost like an apprentice, but then budding into her own powerful managing director role now. A lady by the name of Emily Fraser was running a gymnastics event, and they asked me if I wanted to be involved, and I said, well, sure, why not? And this is only because one of the biggest basketball announcers at the time, the guy who I learnt from really, a guy called Simon Hosanna, he was unable to do it. He was unavailable. So
Destiny was calling.
I had the opportunity, went to Liverpool. I watched one of the gymnastics event. It was very uptight, very, regimented, almost very BBC style news, very formal. And I was like, well, we got to liven this up a bit. And they took it to the O2 Arena over two sessions, over 20,000 people. And we had the World Cup of Gymnastics. British gymnastics, they didn't like my style of announcing. In fact, they were really...
Were you too American?
No, I don't think that they could resonate who I was as a person, a British, Asian, Muslim man. I don't see that as the...
Mind blown.
The voice or the face of their sport. The crowd loved it. The crowd were incredible. And, I spoke to some of the athletes, and one of them is a really good friend, an British gymnast called Jay Thompson. I'm really good friends with him now. They really loved it. But Emily didn't give up on me. She was like, no, I really love what you do. And then she gave me an opportunity to do 10-pin bowling, the Weber Cup, which was my first ever real Sky Sports in front of the camera.
I've seen that. That's mad.
It is crazy, yeah.
The way they spin the ball, it's crazy.
You think you're good when you go down Hollywood Bowl. You're no good. Let me tell you, these guys are serious. And then ping pong, the World Championship of Ping Pong. And in the midst of all of this, once again, going back to a community event, I was hosting a football event for Leicester City in the community at the stadium, and the marketing manager comes downstairs and says, I thought that was our actual announcer on the microphone. Would you like the opportunity to be involved at Leicester City Football Club? And I said, yeah, of course.
Of course you would, yeah.
No brainer. You know what I mean? Then I am now still the second announcer at Leicester City Football Club. There's a gentleman called Brad Varnum who I've also learned a lot from. And when he's unavailable, I'm able to be the announcer.
So what's that like, announcing your hometown team?
Incredible. And we beat Aston Villa 2-1, I believe, one time. We beat Arsenal in the Premier League as well. I've done some pre-season games, and some people have even commented on Twitter, this guy's got a lot of energy for the announcer, but you're announcing Jamie Vardy scoring a winner. You can't do that. You can't do that quietly. So yeah, look, I know we're running out of time, and I'm talking a lot. I do apologize.
No. You're the guest. This is what we want to hear from you. So okay, that's amazing. And now you're kind of it's stepped up again.
Sure.
You're on Sky Sports doing match room snooker events, and pool events.
Yeah, sure.
What is that like? I mean, Sky Sports is a global platform.
Sure. I have to say, recently I've been doing ITV4 events with World Snooker Tour, which is an incredible opportunity. Off the back of working with Matchroom, they asked me for the opportunity to be an MC. And, one thing I will say is that looking into the crowd, when I look into a crowd at a snooker or a pool event, yes, there's the British white community there. Then the next most popular community is the British Asian community, and a lot of them Muslim. And I just felt, it's not my first sport, but learning about the sport, being in front of that camera and bringing whatever flavour I could bring to it, what an incredible opportunity.
Can I make a confession here on air?
Sometime. Yeah, go ahead.
When I was younger, as a teenager, I wanted to be a professional snooker player. No lie, I used to go every week to the Willie Thorne Snooker Club, probably a bit before your time.
No, I know where it was.
But that was an incredible place for just 2 hours on a Saturday. I'd go there, and and it just felt amazing. And I can totally relate, and it resonates with me why the British Asian community, especially our Muslim boys, would want to get involved with snooker.
Without a doubt, and it's opened my eyes now to see how many people want to be involved in the sport from our community. And, very fortunately now I'm able to share good practice of being a Muslim with them. Just recently in Llandudno in Wales, we hosted the Kazoo Tour Championship. Neil Robertson won something stupid like £150,000, right? The final 2 days is when Ramadan began, Yes. And believe it or not, there's a local family in Bolton there that own a lovely little takeaway, right? And there's a mosque in Llandudno as well. And, I was able to, fast. And for colleagues and players themselves, Neil Robertson, a professional snooker legend, asking me, you're
a former world champion.
He's asking me about Ramadan, and I'm to share my experiences and let him know.
Giving dawah.
Sharing these experiences with professional people who have never really come across anybody. You get the basic line. Everybody asks, what? Not even water? Yeah, everybody asks that question. We know it's a common line, but you know, it's good to let them know that, yeah, no, not even water. And people respect you for that. Recently did the World Pool Championship and did that also live on TV. And you with Ramadan and even playing sport, you can't let your quality drop. You're supposed to do everything as you were normally. Yeah, sure, you feel a little lackluster. Sure, you're a little short of energy. But, you know, when you're able to find that extra gear inside you, it's something special to be able to then still be able to, you know, participate in your craft and deliver to the levels that I expect.
And you know what? I totally respect that, because as you can probably tell, I like presenting, I like doing this, and I hope my listeners like listening to me. Alhamdulillah, I've not had any negative feedback so far, but maybe they're just my friends and they're too nice. But I mean, this is different, but being live on TV, what's that like?
It's nerve-wracking.
That must be a buzz though,
yeah,
right?
I think it's very brief, I'll be honest with you. Before you know it, it's over, right? But you're just thinking, no, don't fluff your lines up. You know, you've got to try and make sure. And I also want to represent the sport to the best of their ability. I want them to feel
Be an
like,
ambassador.
yeah, you've really helped, you know, enrich our sport here by delivering something in an excitable manner. But the work is done actually before that, in the warm-up, you know, speaking to the crowd, and being able to connect with them, play some games, give away some prizes.
That's a skill, you know. Let's not sort of talk that down, because to go out there and engage with a group, you know, however, you never met them before, whatever, but to get them engaged and to buy into you as an individual,
for sure,
takes a lot of skill.
Well, let me tell you, Clan did know the average age of that crowd was at least 50 to 70, right? And they was all pretty much British white, that crowd, Welsh white, should I say, because we were in Wales, right? And, you know, I thought in my head for hours, you know, should I mention the fact that I'm fasting? Will they be able to resonate with that? Will they, you know, would they boo me? Or would they not?
Because it could isolate them, right?
Without a doubt. So, you know, I thought, you know what, I've got to do it. You know, if I'm a Muslim, I've got to go out there and say that. So I did. You know, I went out there, I spoke to them, you know, and I made sure it was the most approachable thing in the world. And I said, look, you know, I'm fasting. It's Ramadan. You know, I've not been eating all day. If I fluff my lines on TV, don't laugh at me, you know. And, you know, I said, I've been talking about all the great places that I did know. I found this wonderful restaurant. I mean, the fish and chips are incredible. As you can tell, all I've been doing is thinking about food. And we had like a brief 45 seconds before we went live on TV. And, you know, the crowd were really receptive at that point, but I knew I had them when it was 45 seconds before we went live. It's dead silence. And I said into the microphone before we went live, all I can think about is butter chicken. And the whole crowd, they just went wild. They had a great old laugh. And, you know, so many of them came up to me, and then it's just so much respect for what you're doing, you know. You know, what an amazing experience that was. Brilliant, so fortunate to be involved.
Amazing.
In that.
Listen, Tahir, we got about 2.5 minutes left. This is Ramadan Radio 87.7 FM. Keep it locked, because after 6 p.m. we've got Sister Zainab, who's breaking stereotypes. So I don't know what she's got planned for or who she's got in the hot seat, but make sure you're tuned in, because it's always informative, educating and enlightening listening to Sister Zainab. But we still got the brother Tahir here for the next couple of minutes. Couple of questions for you. So
sure.
As a seasoned pro, you know, I'm kind of just an amateur here. What tips could you give me in terms of sharpening up my game?
Listen, communication's key to everything that we do in life. Communication of your feelings, your emotions, your thoughts, your views.
Be authentic, right?
Yeah, right. But more importantly, communicate in a respectable way. You know, try not to muddle your words up, script or write things out, or think about what's coming out your mouth before you say it. Sometimes I'm not very good at doing that, but at the same time, like when you're on TV, you know, you don't want to mince your words up. You want to say things in the right way, or come across in the right way as well. So being prepared is important. And then the last thing is just having confidence and be yourself, you know, be yourself. My sister was laughing at me today for something silly. I can't even remember, but you know, that's just me. You know, I'm a little bit silly and a little bit crazy.
A little bit whoa, a little bit way.
Yeah, but there's you know, you got to have a bit of character, and you got to enjoy life for however long we're here.
So very quickly, where can we see you next on TV? When?
Sure, I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I've got a couple of basketball events coming up. The Final Fours for National Basketball League, the Junior Finals competitions. You know, potentially the UK Open with Matchroom Multisport as well. We'll catch me at Leicester Riders games. London Lions games I've also been doing this season in the capital, which have been amazing. But more importantly, you can find everything I'm doing on social media. And more importantly, Tuesday night, Tomorrow night.
You've got your own program midnight.
Sports Forum. If you think your football team is the greatest, or whichever sports person team you support is the greatest, come and chat to me about it. After Tarawih, you vented it all out. Your stress during Tarawih is gone. Come and have a reasonable conversation with me. We'll talk about it.
Midnight tomorrow, only on Ramadan FM. You heard it here first, folks. The Tahir Hajat Sports Forum coming to you live tomorrow night. Last word, who's the basketball GOAT?
The basketball GOAT is Michael Jordan, and no
cap,
no
no
way,
doubt.
no.
No.
Yeah.
Listen, Tahir, Jazakallah khair for coming today. It's been an absolute pleasure. Come and visit us again anytime, brother. And we wish you all the very best in all of your avenues of work and life. And inshallah, have a blessed remainder of Ramadan and a fantastic Eid and a happy birthday to your missus tomorrow as well. Can't forget that. This is Ramadan 87.7 FM. Tune in tomorrow where I've got the New Crescent Society coming to you live at 5 p.m. Assalamu alaikum.